The workload is starting to overwhelm you. You can't handle this alone and you need a team. What do? Let's talk about how to scale your agency. This is where the fun part happens. All that hard work and dedication that you put in and the fear that you weren't sure if this was going to work or not, at least that was the case for me. And you start seeing the leads roll in and you start closing client after client after client. And now the workload is starting to overwhelm you. You can't handle this alone and you need a team. What do? Now in this video, when I talk about scaling an agency, I want to talk about it from the internal point of view or the internal management point of view. So before you can start scaling your agency, or in order to be able to scale your agency, you should be focusing on or having some of these things completed, and it would be continuous. It's an ongoing journey, and I still focus on this today. So number one, establish your branding. This is an ongoing effort. Branding is not just a logo, and it's not just one thing you work on at the very beginning and forget about. Branding is continuous. Clearly define your buyer's persona. This is also not something you do one time at the very beginning before you start your company. This is an ongoing effort, and it's not a one-time deal, and it's not a one-time thing. It's not just one buyer's persona. You'll have multiple, and those buyer's personas, the details of them would continue to grow and sometimes completely change. You might pivot, and you might realize that the buyer's persona that you had established in the beginning or later on was wrong. And you want to continue to provide valuable content to your buyer's persona and speak to their pain points through providing informational content. So just to recap, provide value. And you want to build out your systems and workflow processes, have your SOPs and manuals all set up and in place. And of course, you want to improve your delivery and your performance for your clients and strive to improve your client relationships. And this is really fun for me because I really enjoy and I'm passionate about it. But your SaaS stack or your tool set for your agency, for me, this is constantly changing. The SaaS industry is constantly changing. It's very fast paced. What was the best tool last year or even last month may not be the best tool the next month. The other thing is the best SaaS is a relative term. So what may work for person A or agency A may not work for you. So you always want to try out new tools and see what works. And another thing is different tools integrate with different tools. So what you might have your favorite tool A and it works very well with tool B, but you make a switch to tool C and it doesn't integrate with each other. The great thing is there are automation tools or integration tools like Zapier, Integromat, and many others out there today to make your life easier, and you don't have to kind of mix and match and try to fix everything or fit everything together. So going back to what I wanted to talk about in this video about scaling your agency and how you might be able to do that, I wanted to go through it from the business owner or the agency owner standpoint and my experience and how that might help you and provide some information for you if you're trying to scale your agency today. So let's talk about it from the internal management point of view. What I mean by that is simply your team. When you're starting to scale your agency and your team, what's the best way to go about it? Now, when I first started my agency, I came from a B2B enterprise background, corporate culture, white collar, and that was all I knew kind of, and that was what I wanted. So when I thought about the future of my digital marketing agency, I was thinking, 60-story building, floor-to-ceiling windows, corner office, all of that, cubicles. That's kind of the thinking I had at the time. And so when I started to scale, all I knew was hire in-house. And I started hiring in-house with Korean team members or employees because we were in Korea, we were providing Korean services, and I just thought this is the only way to do it. Mind you, in Korea, there are minimum wage laws, and also it's a hyper-competitive market, and I had to pay at minimum $2,000. Obviously, there's other costs involved and taxes involved and insurance policies that I need to purchase as a business owner, and so that was very difficult to swallow in the beginning. Or it still is, right? And so as a new business owner, as a small business, I had to pay $2,000 per person, even at the entry level. So if I wanted anyone that was specialized in social media advertising or media buying, we're looking at, $3,000, $3,500 and up. And so that was very, very difficult. And when I had a team of 4, all Korean and all offline. So what I mean by that was in-house, physically in the office. So I also had office costs as well. Anyway, that was very difficult. built, and we were already spending I was spending $10,000 a month trying to keep my agency afloat. And the other problem was that I wasn't ready to scale. I was ready in terms of the clients coming in or the leads that we were generating, but I wasn't ready in terms of business management. So that's another thing to know, is that if you're coming from a marketer background or you were specialized in some aspect of digital marketing, for me, which was social media marketing, when you become an agency owner, the game changes completely. You are now an entrepreneur. You are now a business owner. You are no longer a marketer or a social media marketer or an ad specialist. Of course, that's probably the first service you'll provide, and you'll spend a lot of time doing that, but you're also going to spend a lot of time, if you're anything like me or most, I think, small business owners, you'll start sweeping the floors. I was a janitor at the office. I was doing everything. I was an accountant. I was looking up business law. I was everything, right? From A to Z. So that is a quick reality check for you. It's not all about marketing once you start your own agency. But the biggest hurdle that I had, the biggest issue that I had when I was starting to hire and becoming a team manager or a business owner, was that I didn't have the systems in place. I didn't have the SOPs. I didn't have manuals. I didn't have anything. And I thought I would only delegate so much work, thinking that I can do it the best, obviously because I know it the most well, or I know it the best. And I was basically leaking cash. I wasn't giving enough work for them to keep busy. And the work that I was giving, I didn't have clearly defined rules and walkthroughs or SOPs. And so over time, what happened was they weren't working. So I wasn't prepared to handle a team. And this led to bad hires, burning money or burning cash, bad performance, difficulty in building company culture, and a whole lot of stress. The other problem I had, and I still do today, is I've been an employee longer than I've ever been a business owner or a boss. And so I understand and I relate more to the employees than I do to myself, my current self, where I am now, where I'm sitting now. And so I'm unable to differentiate business and personal. I try to become friends. I try to stay well liked, and that always backfires. I'm at a point now over the last several years of running through a lot of problems, and I will tell you straight up today, it does not work. So keep business business and keep personal personal. And if I can give a quick tip, because I'm no good with HR and managing people, my biggest tip would be to hire somebody for that. So if you're great at that, that's good, but maybe you're not good at something else, then hire somebody for that. But the sooner you let go and you delegate it to someone that is better than you, the faster you can grow and the less headaches you'll have. And as we continued to grow, I was studying a lot. I was learning and testing out new SaaS tools, and I realized that we don't need the office anymore. This was also the point. So back in 2018, I was realizing how much I hated offline meetings and how unnecessary they were. In Korea, they still want offline meetings. Even today, when I'm not based in Korea, I get a lot of inquiries about that. But I realized it's not necessary. So in 2018, I decided to go fully remote. I closed down the office that we had. We let everyone work from home, and my company almost failed. Almost failed because, again, I was not ready to have and manage a remote team. I didn't have those systems in place. And what happened for me was one of our employees or one of my team members had started not working. And of course, I didn't know because I was not tracking, I was not monitoring, and I was just blindly trusting and on faith. And he was working at another agency, which I didn't know about, and he was stealing our leads, and he was bringing our clients to another agency. And he was getting paid a commission for that, and also getting paid for us. So that didn't work out, and we almost went bust. And so I started from scratch again, back to square one, working alone. This is kind of starting to turn into a video about my experience. So I'm back at square one, a one-person or a one-man agency, and I'm trying to scale again. I still have the leads coming in, but I can't accept these contracts because I cannot deliver. I know I can't deliver by myself. And so I started reading more and more about outsourcing. So I never wanted to outsource, and because I had these big dreams of becoming this crazy enterprise corporation of a digital marketing agency, and I never wanted to white label. But I started realizing that this is a possibility that can help me grow and also increase my contract sizes. Because at the time I was working mainly with F&B, so food and beverage. But when I say food and beverage, really it was small cafes and small restaurants. And the one question that I got asked a lot was, hey, do you provide photography or videography? Can you come to a restaurant or a cafe and take pictures pictures of our food and our drinks and our place because we were providing social media marketing for them anyway. And every time I turned that down. And then I finally realized that, hey, I should probably take advantage of this and add that into my list of services. I can expand my services, or I can upsell them extra services that go hand in hand with what we do and will also help us provide or deliver better results. And so I called up a few people. I called a person that took our family pictures before. He owned a small studio with, I think, 2 or 3 other people. Worked out a deal with them and worked together. Mind you, I let the clients know that we were, I was bringing on a partner or an outside agency, but we worked together, right? So that's how I positioned it. And we were able to increase our contract sizes all across the line. Almost every client would ask for this. So outsourcing is not a bad thing. I don't know why I had some sort of stigma to it, but it definitely helped me grow. And there are times where I still do outsource some things. There's no way that you can handle everything alone or as a small agency like I am, unless you have like 300 people in your agency. Now, as I grew, I had more partnerships with other agencies or studios or freelancers, and we had more clients, bigger contract sizes. I needed more help and I needed a bigger team. And so in-house was the way I continued to try and push, but I realized it doesn't all have to be physically in-house because, of course, we're a remote agency now. And overseas is something that I just never even thought about because I was providing services for Korea. But I realized that being able to hire people overseas, one, can save you a lot of expenses as well because the average cost of living and the average rates for each country differ greatly. So if you were to hire somebody from the United States or from the United Kingdom or Germany versus hiring somebody from Indonesia or Philippines, the prices would differ. And so the Philippines has a great workforce and you're able to find a lot of qualified and talented people there. And one of the sites I want to recommend is onlinejobs.ph. So it is a freelancer site from the Philippines where you can find freelancers and specialists and experts or people looking for jobs in the Philippines. And the rates will vary, of course, based on experience, but the rates are generally lower than what you might find in your country, depending on what country you're in. And for me, overall, my experience has been great, but again, not from the start. This is not a fix to all of your problems. I was not ready, again, to take on remote workers, and I had a lot of issues. And I can't stress enough how important systems, manuals, onboarding, SOPs are. If you're going to be hiring, whether it's in-house or remote, whatever the case is, even if you outsource to different partners, you need to have these things down to save your time and also save their time. And so that you all have a clearly defined goal and objective to work for, and they know what they're doing and you know what to expect. So with remote working, it's very different, obviously, from having somebody physically in the office and you can check when they get in, when they get out. So time tracking is really important. Don't make the mistake I did. Again, separating business and personal. For me, being an employee longer than I've ever been a boss, I hated time tracking. I didn't understand it and it just hurt my ego sometimes, I think. And so I didn't want to do that for my team. And there was no time tracking and that was a mistake. So definitely recommend having time tracking. It doesn't mean you don't trust your team. It's just part of managing a team and managing a team effectively and getting more insight into what's going on without actually having to micro monitor everything. And for time management, I would recommend Hubstaff. That is what we're currently using and I've had a great experience with it. There are plenty of other tools out there. I just don't know all of them, but Hubstaff is something that I can confidently recommend for time tracking. And they also have a lot of other features that I don't use all of, but the time tracking really works great. And in addition to having systems, SOPs, and all of these things in place when it comes to managing a remote team, you want clearly defined goals and KPIs under a specific objective. So you know what to expect, your team members know what to expect, and you can continue on with your work without any issues or micro monitoring or double checking if this is done or that is done. Everyone knows what they need to do. So with that being said, if I were to start all over again today, I would probably save a lot more money. But if I were to start all over today, I would definitely outsource from the start. So if you're starting out and you're a one-person agency and you're starting to grow, I would definitely hire 1 to 3 VAs depending on where you are in terms of your agency journey to handle a lot of the minor tasks that take up a lot of time but don't need a special expertise. So that is one thing I would do, one of the first things I would do. Next, I would expand my services so that I can capture more clients and also increase the contract sizes or upsell certain services. Because as a one-person agency or even a one person with a few VAs, there's only a certain number of services that you can confidently provide and deliver for. And by being able to do this through outsourced work, you'll be able to increase the bottom line and ultimately reinvest some of those profits into your agency to continue to grow by going through some of the first things that I mentioned in this video. And finally, when the time comes, I would continue to expand my in-house team, whether that's physically in-house or remote, by hiring specialists and experts that you can delegate your work to. You can delegate specific tasks to confidently and really perform for your clients. There's a lot of things that you need to focus on. There's a lot of things that you need to do. There's a lot of options that you have when it comes to scaling your agency, but when it comes to scaling your team to grow with your agency. But in my experience, having a remote team, there's more benefits to it than there are negatives. However, I do understand that physical team members in-house work as well. But for me, I prefer the remote team, and I would definitely outsource in the beginning, ultimately with the goal, however, of bringing everything in-house as you grow and hiring VAs to handle all the minor tasks that take up a lot of time, that are tedious, and they don't need that expertise, right? That's my experience. Those are my thoughts on how I would scale an agency. I hope that was helpful for you. If you agree, you disagree, you don't like me, let me know in the comments and subscribe.